All right, stream should be live. Yeah, I'm seeing Rivian's putting a little double bottom here for you.
Boy, this thing looks nice. I was, checking out the 5 minute chart because that's what you got to do sometimes when you're down bad. And it has a nice little triangle. So I figured, let's get it.
Got a double bottom coming in. It's going straight back to VWAP.
What's the view up at?
148.22.
Yeah.
How's Dixie doing today? It's not really doing anything. Pulled back a little bit.
Just chilling, consolidating before the next leg up.
Damn near everything's fucking red except for like big tech. Tech's pretty green. Data stocks are green. Like almost every single sector is red except for consumer discretionary, which is heavily based on tech. Healthcare is a little green. Gold's actually a little green. What is today, the 17th? What's the historical chart say about the 17th? 17th is normally green, so we're going against the historical chart now. Best day of November, and one of the best days of the year, actually, is November 20th. I think that's Monday. Oh, it's actually on a weekend, so that kind of sucks. So November 20th is typically one of the best days of the year. Like the third best day of the year. Runs on a Saturday now, so it's either going to happen on Friday or Monday. The 22nd is actually pretty good as well, so could see some strength on Monday, Tuesday. Hey, Danny, what's going on? Andre, what's going on?
Have you been watching the dollar at all, Deja, today?
It's not really doing much. It pulled back a little bit.
Yeah, it broke out over the 0.5 and then retested it. And now it's retesting it again as resistance.
Yeah, it is getting a little toppy. I was thinking about closing half my contracts, but I've held them for so fucking long. I hate when I do this, where I hold something for a long time, and then right when it breaks out, I sell on the first pump. I
Yeah.
try not to do that.
Yeah, don't tell yet. It's gonna go to 0.618. We're going to 100 for sure.
Yeah, I'm up like 45%. If I could get
Might
like
go back.
75 to 100, I'll probably take some profit.
It might go back to like 94.68, 94.68 around there and consolidate for a little bit, then fly back up. But
Yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't go back below 95. I think 95 is a big level. We're back above the weekly 200 and the weekly cloud, so this thing's pretty ready to pump. If the dollar pumps, historically it is bad for SPY, Danny, but it hasn't really been a one-to-one correlation recently, so it's not too bad of a thing to see, but it definitely wouldn't help. I don't think the dollar is going to be strong enough to push SPY down in the most bullish time of the year. That could be part of why we are kind of consolidating on SPY, though. This little top that we're putting in could definitely be from Dixie just tearing right now. I was reading, like I talked about in Discord this morning, I'm not a big forex guy, I'm not a big macro guy, but I follow some people on Twitter that kind of break it down. And they were saying that the main reason Dixie is running right now is there is a shortage in the dollar in the global economy, mainly due to the shipping crisis, which does make a lot of sense. So I can see where they're coming from. He said, can I please show how to calculate divergence buy zones using fib? So that you don't do divergence with fib. Fib is not a divergence indicator. You would have to use divergence on an oscillator. So like the Momo, the MACD, the RSI, anything, CCI, like there's a ton of oscillators, right? Divergence is found on oscillators, not on mathematical formulas like Fibonacci. But if you're asking me just to look at TRB with a Fibonacci technique, that's not a divergence technique. I can look at the fib. Now the problem with TRB right now is you don't really have. I could take a short-term fib, but long-term this is actually in a bearish fib. The long-term it's actually in a bearish impulse, and then we have a consolidation, which we're kind of failing around the 382. If you wanted to take this bullishly, you could take the recent impulse, so you could take something like this. But even then, you're still bearish because you're losing your 618. So you're losing your bullish fib, and you're still technically in the bearish fib. So this is definitely in a bearish pattern. Fibonacci is not the technique that I would use for this. I would be using more of a range technique where you could use this range right here. Or if you wanted to go kind of more short term, you could use probably this range right here. They both would kind of give you the same levels. If you use the overall range, so this big range right here, we have a couple of deviations which are bullish, and then we have a failure of the high. So once again, we're still in a bearish pattern. So we're bearish from the big impulse, we're bearish from the small impulse, and we're bearish from the range. So in a range like this, you would be selling the highs, buying the lows, ignoring the middle unless you're scalping. So this would have give you a perfect selling opportunity. And now it's hitting kind of your first target around the 50%. And then you have a couple of targets down here lower. The bot is also something that I would not use on this because it's ranging. You don't use the bot on ranging things like this, but I can show you. We were in a buy recently that took profit on the high, and now we're flipping into a sell. But this is exactly why you don't want to use the bot on something like this, because it does not work well in ranging markets. So all these little signals right here, you are getting chopped out. You could have had some pretty good trades if you took the take profits, which I do recommend. I've talked about this in Discord and on stream. If you are using the bot in a ranging market, you want to be paying more attention to the take profits than you do to the flip signals. These take profits are giving you very good exits for your trade, but you don't want to be waiting for the flip because the flip is going to take out most of your profit. But this does look like you're kind of exiting the range. So if you were to flip here on the 50 and then start to push higher, this looks like it's trying to exit the range. So if it did give you a buy signal kind of pushing the top of that range, that would probably be a pretty decent buy signal. No, I'm not sure what that is, Danny. Pretty standard balanced profile that we're seeing today. If you guys use the session volume. I don't know why it changes my settings every single time, even though I save them. But I love TradingView. Oh, I'm doing this wrong. This should be like this. And then this should be like that. Okay. So we have a balanced profile today. You can see if you use the VWAP or you use the VWAP standard deviation bands, you were basically in a very tight range the entire day. And if we go like this, let's hide the VWAP. You can see every single time that it tried to exit the value area, it quickly returned back inside the value area, which is very indicative of a balanced profile, which is that D shape. If you guys are interested in my Fibonacci stuff, watch my Fibonacci video on my How to Trade series. I go over all of my techniques in that video. That is actually the video that I predicted nearly the exact top on SPY before COVID, over 100 days in advance. We also predicted nearly the exact bottom on Bitcoin in that video. What was it, like a few months in advance? So check that video out. I think we missed the top of SPY by, it was like less than 50 cents.
Let's look at the 45-minute on SPY.
The 45-minute, is that what you said?
Yeah.
What about it?
Sitting on the trail, 5 bar the dip stacked up.
Oh, I don't have my indicators on. Let's see.
Oh, my fault.
Oh, yeah, I see that. There's a little pivot below you, too. Yeah, it's annoying, Danny. I save the settings as default, and then it just takes away my settings anyway. So looking at SPY, kind of going over that same technique that I was talking about earlier this week, you can see how it doesn't really like this level right here, right? But then if we take that back further, we can see that it also doesn't like it back here. And it's kind of bouncing a little higher on the support. So like if you extend this, let's say something like this, we could say that if price reclaims this level, it will look quite bullish going into the high. And if we pull this up on a volume profile, you can kind of see that there's a volume gap in that area, which even extends lower. You could even extend it down to, say, 468.60. And then there's that high volume node. So once we reclaim that high volume node, that is basically the last resistance on the all-time high. We have a little bit of resistance right here on this node, but it's a very, very small resistance, only one node. So you could make this more exact, and we could go like this. And we could say once we've reclaimed that node, which is also the value area high of the past like week, we're quite bullish. Right now, we're trying to reclaim this volume node right here. And you can see this is pretty bullish, the way we're reacting to the low volume node. Because like I talk about in my videos, low volume nodes are areas of rejection. So if you're pushing higher and you're coming back to retest a low volume node, if you're very bullish, you should not be hanging out in that area. You should just be quickly bouncing out of it. And that's exactly what you're doing. You quickly bounced. So the buyers are protecting that like 467.50 area, which is pretty good. So as long as we hold on to that level, hold on to the POC, this should be fairly bullish. The only downside to this is this could be seen as kind of a bear flag here. So we want to reclaim those levels as soon as possible. Especially going into the weekend too, going into the weekend tomorrow. Weekly closing on a top doji, inside day, or I guess you'd say inside week. Not the strongest. One good thing about this is it's extremely low volume. It's one of the lowest volume weeks we've seen all year, pretty much. Actually, according to now, I think it is the lowest volume week all year. We still do have a lot of closing volume to get through on Friday. Or what is this today, Wednesday? Okay, so we have tomorrow and Friday. So we could still push up in volume. But as of right now, it's extremely low volume. So if we don't get a lot of volume on tomorrow and Friday, this will be the lowest volume week all year. But we still have 2 days left, so we might get some closing volume. But what I was saying about the volume being low is this having this top doji like this, but extremely low volume, that's not that worrying. If there was a lot of volume up here in this top doji, that would be a little scary. I do like kind of the flat top that we're putting in, and we're kind of pushing back into it. Kind of like what we were doing on IWM, but look at what IWM's doing. Where'd my drawings go? I thought I had this drawn out. I think it was on Russell. Yeah, it's on Russell. Here we go. So Russell had that kind of very small triangle forming, and now we're kind of breaking below it. So a little weakness on Russell. And then if you look at the weekly on Russell, this is a lot weaker because we had the top doji last week, and now we're breaking the top doji. The doji would be what I consider a micro pullback, where we have that breakout higher with that nice engulfing candle, and then we just put in a little doji at the high of the candle, which typically is no direction. So if there's no direction, you wait for the next candle, and you whichever way that candle closes, above or below the doji, that's typically where it's going to go. So this kind of breaking the low of the doji here, that's not very bullish, and you could pull back towards like the previous range. So kind of somewhere around these highs. If it maintained above these highs, above like 2350, 2311, that wouldn't be too bad. But if you lose like 2300, that's looking very bad. Low time frame on Bitcoin, I can take a look. It's actually almost dead even on the day. It's down $1 on the day. That's funny. Low time frame, you're not really doing anything. You're just ranging. So because you had kind of a liquidation sell-off back here, you could take this as your range low and then take this as your range high, because that is where you began to sell off from that bounce. Oops, let me fix that. And now it's kind of hard to see because of my drawings, but we're kind of bouncing out of the lows here. We failed the upper there, and then we're getting weaker there, putting in a lower high. So as of right now, you would be in kind of a bearish mode, because we have the sell the highs, and then we have a buy the lows down here. But this move right here is putting in a lower high from the previous sell point. So a little bit of weakness. But the middle of the range would be right here, and we're currently holding that. So if it holds the middle of the range, it could push you back into the sell the high area. If not, you're going to go back down to 59,000. But as I said, no direction right now. It's just ranging. A buy signal on IWM. I think there was a, let me see. I think there was a weekly buy signal on IWM that came in on the bot, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah, weekly buy signal. And now we're pulling back a little bit with a take profit, so there is resistance up here. Can I look at Nvidia? Let's take a look. Oops. Nvidia has earnings today, so the analysis I'm about to give you is completely pointless, but we can take a look at it, because the earnings are going to push it one way or the other. So my analysis is not going to really matter. But if we look at this high volume node up here, that's kind of where the POC is of this value. So this distribution is pretty choppy. That's where most of the volume is being traded. So below that level is bearish, above the level would be bullish, for a breakout sense, obviously. If this loses the, I'd say probably that doji low there, or you can even take like a fib. If it loses the 618, which is right around the doji, you're probably going to go for a gap fill, which is right there around 266. And then if we break above this node, so I'd say above like 307, you do have a resistance around 329. And then if you break that, should be going to 350 as the breakout target. So I'd say with like really good earnings, 350 would be the upper target. But like I said, it's earnings, so the analysis doesn't really matter. CHZ, let's take a look. Chili's. I do like, first thing I noticed was the retest right here. So you are retesting the previous high. That's pretty good. Let's see. It looks like if you extend this level, it's actually a pretty key level. You had a lot of lows, and then this didn't really respect it there, but then you had a high right there. That's really clean. The very key level around 45 cents. That is being tested right now. So if you hold above that, it looks like you have a POC around 48.5, which is currently being held as support. So that would be your short-term support. Longer term support would be around 45. And then it looks like this is another key level right here. We have the lows right here, the highs, the highs, the highs again, and then the highs again. So very key level right there. And then once again, highs and highs. So if we were to bounce here, that would be an obvious target around 57. And then if you break above 57, I'd probably talk about like 70, kind of where it's failing right there. Doodle said, "What's up? Have you ever traded Bitcoin options? What are your thoughts on them? What about the options market in the stock market?" The options market in the stock market is very good. The options market in crypto is dog shit. I was looking at the options market on Bitcoin just last week because I think Sticky and Dime were talking about it, and they're untradeable. I don't know how people trade them. The volume is literally untradeable. Their spreads, just from the bid to ask, is like 30-40%. It's disgusting. It's untradeable. So I don't know what all these people on Twitter are talking about, like when they're saying they're taking Bitcoin options and they're taking massive positions in Bitcoin calls or puts. They're either full of shit or they don't understand options markets, because every single options market I've looked at on crypto has no liquidity whatsoever, and their spreads are untradeable. So until they get mass adopted by bigger exchanges and they actually get some market makers to come in and provide liquidity, I would not touch them. It doesn't matter if they're long dated, man. Even the long dated ones, I was looking at all of them. They have no liquidity. Like, take this for example. So if you want to trade, say, a Bitcoin $100,000 call, a really far out call, it shouldn't be that expensive. It's very far out of the money. There's a low chance of you being right, etc., etc. Let's say the bid is $300. The ask would be like fucking $700 or $600. Like, the bid to ask spread would be absolutely atrocious. So if you were to hop in right away and buy the ask, and then somebody sold the bid or even sold the mid price, you're already down 50+% just in spread. So usually my rule in trading options in stocks is if the bid and ask is over 20% or even 10%, to be honest, you should not be trading those options. For example, in stocks, if you buy a call for $200 and the bid is $150, so it's $1.50, right? So let's say the ask is $2, the bid is $1.50. That's a horrible bid to ask spread, because if you buy the ask and somebody sells the bid, you're already down 25%. You can't trade that. There's no way to manage risk. I think they're very cool in theory, but they are not being traded. There's no liquidity. There's no market makers. No thanks. You're just asking to be rugged. I'm down to trade them too. Like, as soon as they get liquidity and people start trading them, I'll be one of the first people joining in. But as of right now, definitely not. Can I look at Litecoin? Let's take a look. Looks like there is a very key level around this area right here. We had some highs happen, some lows happen, some highs again, and we're currently failing that level. So if we look at the volume profile, the node is a little lower, so it's right around that 226 level, which we're currently holding, I believe. So if you can hold on to 226, it doesn't look horrible. But this definitely is losing some steam. There's also another level around here. You can see we had a low turn into a high. So very key flip right there. So if we do flip this level right here, that would be an obvious target somewhere around 281. You could even target the POC right there around 270. But if you get below this node, then it's probably going to go straight down to like 200, 180. Doesn't look too good. Hey, what's going on, Eli? You said FTT. Let's take a look. FTT has a key area somewhere around there, which also lines up with this node. The node, once again, is a little bit lower, so around $51. The level that I would give it would be somewhere around 52.60. And then we have another level, which is right around here. We have the lows there, lows there, lows there, and then high, high, low, and then high again. A very key level. So if we do reclaim, I'd say like 53, a little bit of resistance around 56.50, but the obvious target would be around 59. And then if you reclaim 59, that looks like it's the strongest level on the entire chart. There's also a level kind of somewhere around here. And that could be your target if you do reclaim 59. The volume profile, they moved it. If you go to built-ins, it's right there under volume profile. Just go to built-ins. Last one you said was ADA. Let's take a look. Looks like there's a key level kind of right here. Yeah, a high, a low, another low, and another low. So we're currently failing that. If you can get back above this level, I'd say above like 190, 195. Doesn't look too bad. Could get back to the POC around 210. After that, let's see. Looks like there's a level right here. We have the low there, a lot of lows here, high, high, and then high again. Also is a volume node. So if we do break back above the POC, you could target around 240. If it breaks down here, let's see. Looks like there's a level somewhere around here. We have high, 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 low. That's kind of choppy there, low, and then high again. Also a volume node. So if we start to fail this level, that's probably where you're going, back down to 150. Yeah, the problem with that, Doodle, you're talking about cumulative volume delta. Cumulative volume delta is very helpful if you're using an order flow platform, maybe such as Quant Tower. If you're using it built in a trading view, their data is not exactly accurate because they do not properly pull the delta data. Unless they've done a lot of changes recently that I'm not familiar with. Back when I used to mess with it, their delta data is not exactly accurate. If you compare their delta data to something like Quant Tower, which pulls it very accurately, they're going to be different. Color settings, yeah, here. It's black, black, pink, pink, and then red for POC. I'm also using 100 row size, 70 volume, or 70 value. Black, black, pink, pink. Turn off the developing. And there you go. Looking at this chart, the most key levels I would grab, we had that one that we talked about earlier, but kind of one that we're testing right now. Seems like there's one right around here. We have the highs turning into lows, and then there is one right around here as well. That one's not as strong. Those are kind of the trigger points that I would use on SPY. Break above this level should be fairly bullish. Break below that level should be fairly bearish. Nice 200 EMA reaction there. Yeah, trading lights not too bad, dude. I used to use them back in the day. They're fairly good. Very, very responsive. They have a incredible I don't know what you would call it, but their system is very smooth. I'm not sure what that is, Mortal. Eli said, you think we're going to have some coins have like their own bear market while others run hard? Yeah, you typically see that. You typically see some coins that do very poorly while other coins are getting all the volume. And we've been seeing that basically all year. Like look at Solana, look at FTT, look at BNB, look at Ray, even look at crypto.com running right now. The exchange coins or the coins that have value, they've been getting pumped all year. But then you have coins like the ones that we've gone over today that are just bleeding out. Yeah, that happens a lot. Hey, Mauricio, you said, can I take a look at what is that, Strax? Let's see. Very nasty candle today. Looks like it had a massive volume spike for some reason. Let's see. There is a level somewhere around there. We also have a level somewhere around there. And then somewhere around there. Looks like we failed this one just now. Very choppy, lots of wicks, very hard to determine direction. To be honest, let's see. I do like that trend, very nice trend there. That is honestly probably the best way to play it because it's so choppy. It's kind of like a bilateral triangle. You tried to break out on the high of the triangle today. It could not hold above that triangle. So until we start to kind of hold above that triangle and push higher, I would probably lean bearish down to like 180. If it loses 180, then it's probably going to bleed out pretty quickly. But yeah, if it starts to kind of consolidate and then begins to push higher, kind of out of this triangle, we could start to see a push into that like $3 area. But right now, there's no real direction. It's chopping out both sides. The longs are getting trapped. The bears are getting trapped. What do our indicators say? Let's see. You're sitting on the 200 EMA, so that's good. Momentum is very choppy. Failing a pivot. Yeah, indicators basically agree with what I said. Very choppy, no direction. Crypto, or Royals, you're using the session volume. I was showing the visible range. If you want it to be on the right, you have to use visible range. Doodle said the safest coins have been the ecosystem coins, and the ones dumping are like the farming coins. Yeah, exactly. Ecosystem coins, exchange coins.
Yo, Sab, that's what I'm realizing, dude. Fucking, I'm down to like 184 or 180, and that's abnormal for me. I'm not eating for shit. I'm like, man, fuck this. The kush swallows you whole, baby. You need all of it.
Danny said, which activity range should you use when you put the visible range volume profile on the chart? It's honestly it's up to whatever time frame you're looking at. Your time horizon on the trade. Like if you're looking at a much longer time horizon, like maybe you want to take a trade for a week or two or a few months, whatever, like long term, then obviously you want to be using a much bigger volume profile and visible range. But if you're looking at taking a trade as like a scalp, you should probably be going down to a lower time frame and only looking at maybe the recent day or the recent 2 days, recent 3 days. There's no like set in stone way to do it, but you just have to take into account what kind of trade you're trying to build. Like if I was trying to build a very short-term swing trade here for maybe a couple days, then what's today, Wednesday? Then I'd probably just look at, what was Monday? Monday was the 15th. We could just go like this and we could hide everything else except for Monday, and this will give us the weekly profile. So you have to do it based on what kind of trade you're trying to build. I much prefer to just use the session profiles, as you guys have seen in my videos. I prefer this way of doing it. So like, I would just go through here and take my levels like this. We used to do this all the time on stream and in Discord. I haven't been doing it too much lately because I haven't been taking too many scalps or too many short-term swing trades. But if I was trading short-term, this is kind of what I would be doing. I would be marking out my value areas. I'd be marking out the key levels that I want from the profiles, like if there's any major gaps or anything like that. And I go over all this in my volume profile series if you watch the 5-part series on the playlist. The profile on the right, I like to look at this more of a kind of the way that I'm showing you guys on stream, like where I'm finding levels and I'm using it to kind of support where my levels are. Like I'm looking for where it lines up with the levels that I'm finding on the chart. More of like a confluence thing, not something to determine all my trades based on. Like if I was looking at this as like a range and I pulled up the profile, this would be very good confluence because you would be able to see, okay, that's where the POC of the range is. There's honestly another way you could do it too, which makes it a lot smoother. If you just hide this profile, and let's say we want to do what I was saying earlier, where we want to take the whole week, there's actually a tool. Where is it? It's right here, where the long position is. If you click fixed ranged volume profile, we can just grab this for whatever range we want to do, and that would give us the weekly profile. So like if we wanted to do this for last week, what was last week? It was the 8th to the 12th. So we could go through here, we could click this, we could go to the 8th, and then go all the way to right there. And then that would give us last week's profile. So now that we're opening a new week, we can kind of judge our price action based on last week. So what did we do? We came back down. We didn't like the resistance that we had right here on last week's profile. We had a nice big gap right here that we kind of filled in. You can see how we're kind of filling that in. But before we did that, we came back down to retest this massive node that we put in during last week. Notice how this was just a big retest. And then once we started to push back up, we used this as an area of rejection like I talked about earlier. If you break a volume gap and then you pull back to retest it, if you're bullish, that volume gap should push you away. It should reject you. So that's exactly what we did. It rejected you. And then now we're kind of just chopping out and filling in that area. So we can kind of compare the two. We could grab this one. And now we can kind of compare both of them, right? This is a triple distribution. We have a distribution up here, distribution here, and then we have two big gaps. And then today, this week is also a triple distribution. We have a node on the high, we have a big gap, node in the middle, big gap, and then node on the bottom. So it's almost identical to last week, but it's in a much tighter range. And also we're filling in this area right here. So now we have this week and this week and then last week. Let's combine them and see what they turn into. So now let me actually do it this way. It'll make it easier. So we have last week, this week, and then we have them combined. So when you combine them, it actually gets rid of that volume gap. It's still kind of there. We have like a little gap here, but it's not a massive gap. We still have this massive gap here. This is turned more into a bullish distribution because the majority of the volume is being traded on the high and we don't have that much volume on the low except for this little cluster right here. So we have a bullish distribution and then we have kind of support around here. Quant Tower is my favorite net. Quant Tower is the best one that I've used. I made a 4-part series on Quant Tower, doing some, showing some live examples on how to use them. So you guys can check that out. I believe all 4 of those videos are in the How to Trade playlist. I'd say if you take into account all 3 days, Doodle, this would be bullish distribution. But if you only take into account the past couple days, this would be bearish. So like this whole scene right here, I'd say would lean bullish. But if you're looking at just this right here, I'd say that would lean bearish. And what that kind of tells you is maybe we are due for one more pullback. But if we do pull back one more time, there is a lot of support, and this probably should still continue higher. I don't know, Doodle. You definitely could. You definitely could pull back and fill in that gap. The reason why I would be slightly inclined not to believe that we would pull back and fill that gap in is because we already tried. You already tried right here, and you didn't really try here, but it's currently trying. If it wanted to fill in this gap, you shouldn't have had so much buy pressure right here. QRDO, is that a ticker? Let me see. Thing's ripping. It was at 5 cents and now it's at $8.50. That thing's pretty bullish.
What's the ticker?
QRDO. It's on Qcoin.
Oh, you're talking about a crypto.
Yeah. Fucking thing went from 5 cents to $8.50. Got really good volume too. A volume surge like this is usually very indicative of bullish accumulation. This trend is very solid.
Oh man, Robinhood's about to close at brand new lows. We're gonna see how low this bad boy's about to go. How much pain are we in for, Deja?
You're kind of just putting in a stair-stepping pattern on this QRDO. Who asked about it? Ryan. So as long as you keep making new highs, I think you're safe. The problem is this is a weak high. So notice how when we made a new high here, it pumped pretty hard. Made a new high here, pumped pretty hard. But then you made a new high here and you barely pumped. So that's not good. Like if we were to take this as a fib, I could almost guarantee you this is going to be a weak high. Yes, this is a weak high. So when you take this as a fib, notice how we don't have any value being found above the 0.13. The 0.13 is the fake out fib, where it's showing you that this is a weak high. If we do find value above that level, then you're looking for like $10, $11. But right now, this high is pretty weak. So you could pull back to like the previous levels, maybe around $6.60, $6. But until you find value above like $8.75, it's pretty weak. How's everything closing? Pretty red on most of the stuff that we're holding. Tesla is closing a little weak, but it had a pretty strong day. Sitting right on VWAP. Amazon nuking, Netflix losing VWAP, Facebook selling off a little bit, Apple losing VWAP, Microsoft losing VWAP. Pretty weak close. Yeah, Rudd, what are you looking at? Oh god, Doodle, is that another dog coin? Twitch is not going to let you post links, Doodle. It's going to ban the link. And I'm not currently signed into Twitch, so I can't really disable it. There's a... I can look up Pancake Swap if it's on Pancake Swap. TradingView has it on here. What's the ticker? INU USDC? No, it's not on Pancake Swap. Gala? Let's see. Jesus, that thing's fucking pumping today, up 116%.
Yeah, I think that's like a play to earn coin. It's like a game.
Oh, it's a game? I gotcha.
Yeah, there's another one. Um, I think My Neighbor Alice is a pretty good coin, technically. It's Alice is the ticker if you want to look at it. And then PlayDAP, PLA. I think this one's about to pump pretty hard because it's kind of been like consolidating. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it run to like $4 or $5 here.
Yeah, so this thing has already pumped 112%. So if you're not in this already, obviously you don't want to get in today. It wouldn't be a really good trade. But if we take a fib from the pump candle, there is the 0.21, 21 cents would be a nice fib. 19.50 would be a fib. And then 17.5 would be a fib. So the buy zone would be somewhere around here. So if it pulls back to that area and kind of consolidates, then that would be a pretty decent place to enter. you can't really put in a stop loss on something like this. You just have to be, you have to set a level that you're okay at getting out at. So like if it pulls back to 22 cents and you're thinking, I don't really want to take, I don't want to lose any more profit than what I've already lost, that's where you would close it. Typically on things like this, you want to get out on the way up, not on the way down. So if we were taking like a fib, really the only fib that you could take is something like that. Your next target on this would be 28 cents. We already tapped the target at 27. And the next target after that would be 35. And that's actually the final target. So 28 and then 35. You could use a trail like the ADMA, but it's going to be really far behind. Yeah, it's all the way at 13 cents. So you can't really trail this. You just have to have a level that you're going to accept profit. If it's your first week in crypto and you already hit a coin like this for 100%, I just would not, don't let it come back on you. Just have a level that you're going to take profit on. A lot of newbies in crypto, they see shit like this and they think they're going to get rich off of it, and they give it all back. You have a stop loss at 21. That's not too bad. To be honest, Doodle, I don't really want to click that link. I've never seen that DEX before. It's one of my biggest things is clicking links. I fucking hate clicking links.
Almost completely filled on CRO.
I've been rugged before from clicking links, so I try not to.
Are you long in it, Sticky?
Yeah, I'm buying the. I've started laddering in from 52 cents all the way down to 49.5.
Did we cover this yesterday on stream? I think we did. The Bitcoin range. I told you guys that we were kind of entering that buy the low area on Bitcoin. It gave you a nice little entry today when it nuked down. So as long as the range holds, you're safe to buy the low, sell the high. And as of right now, it's holding pretty nicely. Is that on TradingView, PLA? Oh, here you go, USDC or USD.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, I can't really chart this. It's just got massive wicks. You could take like this move right here, but you've already hit 4 of our 5 targets. The only target that would be left is 360. If it pulled back to retest like $1.80 and held, that would be pretty decent. It's the 100% extension, then the 113%. Because 13 is a fib. But all right, guys, I am going to call it. Appreciate you guys being here. I'll be posting analysis in Discord later today. If you guys like the video, make sure to hit the like button. I will be streaming tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, same time as always. And then if you're in Discord, I'll catch you guys at 9:30 in the morning. Peace out, guys.